Do you have a favorite MythBusters reference in pop culture? Chris Baginski is currently watching Modern Family, rewatching it, and cracked up at Phil Dunphy's line about children's soccer, where he says, but then we realize it takes over your whole weekend, and not in the cool MythBusters marathon way. Okay, so Chris Baginski, I was not aware of that reference. I'll tell you about the orange phone, everybody, in just a minute. I didn't know about that reference. I didn't know that Modern Family reference. I so enjoy all the little pop culture Easter eggs. Our bobbleheads were on the shelves of Big Bang Theory set for much of its run. So I had my own sort of pop culture moment about MythBusters at San Diego Comic-Con a couple of years ago. 2 years ago, I'm at the big after party at the Hard Rock, and I'm hanging out with Sam Richardson. You've seen Sam. He played Spleck in Veep. He was in Promising Young Woman. It's marvelous, marvelous actor and comedian and genuinely hilarious to talk to. So we're hanging out at the party, and he introduces me to another friend of his, and the guy's name escapes me. But the guy says, oh, I've been wanting to meet you, he says, Sam's friend. He wanted to meet me because he is currently working on a show apparently called Dumb MythBusters, or some version of that. And I was like, you got to tell me what that's about. And he's like, we wanted to find out if one could become sexually attracted to an inanimate object. And I was like, oh my God. This is the sort of thing we would never have tried on the show. But of course, I'm super like, sounds like a great question to try and answer. And I was like, what did you guys do? He says, well, he said, we chose an object that was like, I don't even know what it was, a stapler or something random. Let's say it's a desk stapler. And he said, and then we ran me through a protocol of interacting with the stapler while also regularly looking at sexually explicit material. They wanted to elicit a response in the inanimate object that was sexual in nature. And I go, did you wear the cuff? And he's like, of course you would know about the cuff. If you are experiencing erectile dysfunction and you go to your doctor about it, there is one of the first questions about it is it physiological or is it emotional? And one of the ways they test that is they have a cuff they can put around your private parts while you sleep. And if it is emotional and not physical, they will see evidence of your tumescence overnight. The cuff will measure that. And he wore the cuff. This is like, I am just blown away by this. But the idea that I'm sitting here talking to these two young comedian performers, and we're having this blast talking through an experimental protocol for an absurd question. And like, it was hilarious. That was a spectacular moment to share. And that was my pop culture MythBusters moment of like, we're getting into the weeds of hilarity about an experimental protocol. That feels like a great legacy. For us on the show, the first huge thing was when Jamie Lee Curtis, I think in like, it's got like 2006 maybe, really early, went on Oprah and said, my favorite show is MythBusters, no offense, Oprah. And we reached out to Jamie Lee. We sent her and Chris Guest some swag. I ended up having a couple of lovely meals with them. They are delightful human beings. And Jamie Lee Curtis told me that she and Chris call each other Jamie. Back then, they would call each other Jamie and Adam because they exemplified our personalities, except hilariously, Jamie was Adam. That is, Jamie Lee Curtis was the me in the equation, and Chris Guest was the Jamie, which of course makes total sense. And it may seem funny for me to say this, but I'm always surprised to find out people are watching. I always have been, and I always was, and lots of other people I know who work in media are frequently surprised when someone comes to them and says, I'm a fan of your work, specifically this thing, and then they've been watching. It's easy to understand globally that people are watching, but it is always a fascinating thing when you realize it in yourself, and you feel like, you know, I have had moments where I've understood that I was both a person and something happening in culture. Like those two things were happening. You know, our television project was, yeah, being part of the culture. That's thrilling. Um, Thank you, Chris Baginski. That's a lovely question. Wasteland Reaper has gifted a super chat, thank you, and asked. They were watching the Food Fables episode. This is where, with Alton Brown, we had Alton Brown on the show. And we cooked an entire Thanksgiving dinner by mapping out the different temperatures of a running car engine and then putting different parts of the meal on those parts. I agree with you, Wasteland Reaper. I also thought it was cool that we mapped the engine temperatures to cook the food. That was a really fun episode to do. He wants to know, they want to know, did you legitimately eat the food afterwards or was it not safe? No, no, no. If it wasn't safe to eat, we would have made that part of the narrative. We didn't. I'm not saying that everything you saw was exactly how it happened, but with narrative beats like that, we totally ate the food. Another narrative beat that was like that, where people got upset, was there were all these chickens wandering around Hawaii when we were doing Duct Tape Island rescue, and there's a moment when I'm trying to catch a chicken, and then we cut from me trying to catch a chicken to me eating a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. We thought that that joke would be clear. It was still not clear to some people. Does testing feel like a job like your previous roles? Or is it simply more meditative without the stresses of critical deadlines? There are certain kinds of critical deadlines that are missing from my day-to-day at Tested. That is absolutely true. But it's not to say that this channel isn't without its stresses, because it certainly is. But no, it does not quite feel like a job. And I got to tell you, sometimes I feel a little bit guilty about the ways in which it doesn't feel like a job. I deeply feel the responsibility for this company and for its running well, and I am in tune with what I do and can do to assist that. But it's joyful because I love this team. I love what we make. I love what we put out. I love each of our points of view. So no, in that, it does not feel like a normal job. And, you know, I spent a lot of time reading anti-work. And the psychopathic managers out there just ruining their employees' lives, making them find coverage, which is totally not cool. And also, you know, my sons both work in fine dining, so I have had the experience of hearing about terrible bosses and, you know, difficult kitchen cultures, which are can be famously difficult. And I'm here to tell you, having had family members work inside them, that they can be spectacularly awful cultures. And there's no reason for that. There's really, I wish American work culture didn't prize suffering to the degree that it does. Simone and I were talking about this. She was here in San Francisco recently, and we got to hang out for a couple of hours. And we were talking about feeling the stresses of the various things, you know, being responsible for this company, this output, etc. And then always within any kind of stress of feeling like, oh, got to get this done, got to get this thing done, reminding myself, and she does the same thing. I asked for every last bit of this. I sought it out. I am responsible for where I am currently. And I did those for reasons. I made those decisions for reasons, and I am living out those reasons right now. And frankly, that frame always brings a sense of real gratitude. Let's see here.
Thank you for watching. I wanted to talk to you about tested membership. The tested members are a key community that we find really, really remarkable. That's very separate from tested and from YouTube. The tested members, they buy each other memberships during our live streams. So if you're wondering whether to become a member, watch one of our live streams and someone may just give you one. It is hard to overestimate how much the tested members actually make possible on this channel. They give us a lot of wiggle room. They give us a huge amount of feedback.
That's a member right now.
Thank you so much for enjoying your membership. Description for everything you need to know. And for all the members out there, thank you, thank you, thank you.